Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Don't Tell Me How to Fan. My name is Josh Albrecht, and with me, as always, is my good friend, John Taylor. John, how we doing?
Hey, Josh, I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm all right. I feel like it was kind of a whirlwind in the world of sports and entertainment, the things we talk about on this podcast since the last time we had one.
Yeah.
So let's start right away with the Brew Crew. Last time we talked, we were like, hey, all right, they turned it around. This is what we needed. We need more of this, more wins, more consistent winning, right? They did not get us all free burgers from George Webb's.
No. How many burgers is that again? I'm so sorry to the Wisconsin faithful. I've been away long enough. I forgot.
I don't know like the exact, like you just get a coupon for a free burger, but I don't know exactly how many they hand out of the coupon.
Is it 12 in a row?
Oh, the games. It's 12 games in a row. Yeah. I thought you meant how many burgers do they give out? I was like,
no,
I think it's just to everyone. Everyone gets a burger.
Yeah.
1 million burgers. I don't know, however many it is. But they didn't get 12 games. So it doesn't matter. The biggest thing is that it was like, okay, but like they can still keep this train going. And they were for a while. It's kind of like win one, lose one, win one. But then, John, I took a look at the standings after that big run that this team went on, and it helped them get all the way to third place in the division.
Right where they were.
Where they were.
They're not 7 games behind anymore, so that's good. So we are making
progress. 5.5.
Yeah. Hey, I think we talked about it last episode. I just think like all you can do is just keep hoping the Brewers produce positive results, and then whatever happens after that happens after that. And I think this series, while disappointing, we're in a nice little stretch where we are winning series, and we haven't been, heading into this last little stretch. So the Braves, we're heading into the Braves next week. They're very bad, and then the schedule gets a little tough. We go Cardinals, Cubs. So
important series. Important. Yeah. So the Cardinals, I wasn't even, just like normal, the Cardinals just are there. They're always there. They suck. I hate them more than any other sports franchise. The Cubs, as the Brewers were winning, the Cubs were still winning, which is why we went from 7 games behind the Cubs to 5.5 games behind the Cubs. We gained a game and a half.
Yeah, it really stinks. Pete,
through all that.
Armstrong seems to be good.
Yeah.
It's funny when he was bad last year, but I think he just needed a season to figure it out. Seems like he has. Obviously, they have the payroll and the spending to figure it out. And obviously, you get a lot more talent around Craig Counsell. He's going to make good baseball teams great. It was funny to not have it happen last year. There's probably a lot of changes, blah, 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 blah. But on baseball, it's pretty like on paper, if your team produces, that's usually going to translate. And go figure, that's what's happening for the Cubs. They bought a team that could perform, and they are doing exactly that. So,
I mean, you look at teams like the Brewers, and even when Counsell was here with the Brewers, and a lot of it was, still finding ways to win. I'm just curious what kind of team this Cubs team is. Is this a team that is, going to be in the same conversation as the Dodgers, Yankees, of like these teams that are powerhouses and or is it going to be the same thing we experienced with Counsell, where they're going to make it to the postseason and then flop, and time will tell. Obviously, I don't have to worry about that right now. I hope that it doesn't even happen. Maybe post All-Star break, they completely fall apart and, lose more than half their games. That'd be great. Time will tell, though, on that. But yeah, I mean, for Brewer fans, it's just like you said, we just got to keep finding ways to win series. The super hot streak they were on was great. I think that was kind of like it was a spark, right? And now you just need that to not be a high point on the roller coaster of the season. You need that to be a benchmark that kind of now has them coasting at that level, then falling right back down. Like if they lose, 6 of their next 8, that the whole thing did nothing. Like it has to be something that keeps them consistently winning at least every other series and not getting swept. So let's just hope that that's what keeps going with the Brewers. as far as like specific personnel, nothing to report.
Well, since we spoke last, the Brewers took what a hilariously high number, like the series in Cincinnati, Great American Ballpark.
Yeah,
We have their number. I think it's been very long since they've took a series against us. So it always feels like going to Cincinnati is a chore. And I realize I think they play us better at AmFam than they
at home.
they do at Great American Ballpark. So, well, that is true. He hit a walk-off grand slam.
Yelly did.
Yeah. So it's worth mentioning that personnel. I mean, apparently it was his first ever grand slam, right at the end of a game. So that
was his first ever walk-off home run.
Yeah,
and then Durbin did the.
I think
had a walk-off
at
AmFam.
Yeah,
a couple of nights ago. So
yeah. Also, I'm wrong. I'm thinking of the wrong series. My apologies. It's almost 100 degrees in Portland. My brain's getting cooked while we talk.
That's the real story here.
It's so hot. It's so hot and summery. What's it like in Milwaukee right now?
It's perfect. We went and got some ice cream, and
that sounds lovely. It
was wonderful. It's perfect.
Yeah. I think my paint might start just melting off.
And if you see something melting across the screen, it might be John.
Melting. It's just No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the Phillies. My bad. Yelich continued his strong hitting during the Red Series by way of a homer. Sorry, I'm getting my games confused, and I apologize to the listeners. Because we won off the strength of that home run, 3-2, kind of got close. The bats stalled out in the game 2, and then obviously it was the third game where we won, where I went, oh great, it's about to be. It was what 4-1 going into the And I was like, okay, here we go. This is still a little too close for comfort, just knowing how the last, we had won a lot of late games. And then they just scored 3 more runs. They just piled it on in the 6th, the 8th, and the 9th. So, it was 3-1 in the 5th. And I was listening to it while I was at work. And I was like, oh, man, this is going to be another classic Brewers game where the bullpen just makes it not as competitive and the hitting is going to stall out. And then that just was not the case. Put up a ton of runs.
But no, that was today. That was today where the runs were.
That was this whole series. I mean, I can literally tell you about all the RBIs because it happened twice over the last 3 days. We've had 2 RBI opportunities. So obviously, sadly, the Padres, we get blanked after in game 1 and in game 3, and we didn't put up any run until game 2, 15 innings into the series. So not great, Bob, if I can put it that way.
No, not what we were looking for. So, and that's my fear. Right, is we just can't go back to that. Yeah. It's one thing to lose games, 4-5, 5-4, I should say, or 4-3. But if you're getting blanked in 2 out of the 3 games of the series, then your pitching doesn't matter. You have to score something. Totally. You knew you were gonna have to score something. So I don't care who's on the mound.
Yeah, it definitely didn't feel good when Trevor McGill technically blew the save by giving up 2 runs in the 9th on that game Saturday.
Yeah.
And then, this is the late game heroics you talk about. Walk off on Caleb Duran's home run. Little weak. The joke is a little muscle hamster, short little guy, packs a lot of power, very fast. But nice little home run. So it was nice to see at least one of the games, the offense bailing out the pitching.
Something. Yeah. But even then, it was 4-3. It wasn't like it was like a crazy 17-run game like they had at the end of May against the Phillies. So
where are you at with Trevor McGill? How are you feeling about Big Trev in the closing position?
I don't know. I feel like I'm still more worried about the offense than I am any pitching.
Yeah.
So
I guess the reason why I'm asking is it is like the one lever that they can pull pretty comfortably. It's like if Trevor McGill keeps pitching the way he's pitching, you do have Abner Uribe in the 8th. Before his suspension and then that surgery that took him out last year, there was a huge conversation that it was Abner's position to take once Devin Williams left. Trevor McGill obviously pitched pretty well in Devin Williams' absence and Abner Uribe's absence. So it's like it's definitely his to lose. And I'm wondering if you're on the camp that it feels like he's losing it. Obviously,
yeah. I don't feel like I can truthfully tell you that I'm one way or another because I want there to be more 2 and 3 run save opportunities. I want there to be, I don't feel like the Brewers are putting the pitching in enough of those positions for me to focus on it. I've always been someone that overreacts to closers. So, for that reason, yeah, I definitely think that it could be, but I'm too focused on the offense right now.
Yeah, totally
And
fair.
need that, like seeing them get blanked twice in the last 3 days is just not.
Yeah, it's not
I
great.
have PTSD from when Rowdy Tellez was the only one that could get a hit, for this team. And I'm sitting there going like, please, I can't watch a Brewers team like this again. I can't do it. So that's where my focus is. But I completely agree with you. I am not a person that's going to sit here and say, no, we're paying McGill a ton of money and he has to be that guy.
Yeah,
If it's Abner's, you bet, sure,
yeah,
switch him, flip him around, do whatever it takes. But you got to get runs on the board first.
Yeah, kind of just running through the players, infield, outfield too. It's like there is this idea that like it's not like we're getting hits. The problem is we're not scoring runs. That's like the really big issue, especially obviously against the Padres. Leaving a lot of guys on base, not really being able to advance the runners, right? So it's like the guys that we expect to get hits are getting hits, but the problem is like the gaps in between aren't really doing anything. So it's like if we're not driving whoever's in the 4 and the 5th hole, it's like, well, Joey Ortiz, Caleb Durbin, and Andrew Monasterio, you can't just really count on them getting clutch hits to like drive those runs in, right? So yeah, it's more of the same. I'm still of the thought they got to figure something out in third base, like Andrew Monasterio.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're just like we just need to get better. Like Caleb Durbin, I think, is proving that he might be suitable for the position, but I just think like, what would a year of him not having to play third? And his defense seems to be getting better. He's been buoyed by Rhys Hoskins also being knocked for not being a great first baseman in terms of like digging it out. Like over the win streak, has played defensively a lot better than you'd expect. I would definitely say like something we failed to touch on last time that I think is very true is like the defense is starting. It definitely does feel like Milwaukee Brewers defense. A lot of those like stupid mistakes, lazy. Joey Ortiz had a couple incredible throws over the last week. Same with Caleb Durbin, and obviously Bryce is just doing Bryce things. He's the platinum.
Yeah,
he's the platinum glove winner in the NL for a reason. Yeah. But even like Sal's defense, like I mean, he's gunning dudes down. You have to respect his arm. So it's like, I think like defensively, you're right. There's not much really you have to worry about. Pitching wise, all the moves, everything else is just kind of like it is what it is. At some point, like we have to be pretty transparent about the fact that just like this pitching staff, while still good, is not the caliber it was 3 or 4 years ago. 100%. So you just cannot expect them to win 2-0 comfortably. That's just not the world we live in anymore, sadly.
The bigger issue has and will always be, it seems, for this team, like you mentioned though, getting runs across home plate. Like I get having a team that is going to be scrappy and steal bases and use their speed and you don't have to hit for power, blah blah blah. Yeah, that only works if you're getting them all the way home. Yeah. Machado hitting a home run and having that be the only run because you were trying to play small ball and you had runners on first and third, and then Monasterio strikes out in 3 pitches to end the inning. Cool. Well, guess what? Then that whole method doesn't work. Like 4 hits doesn't mean anything if none of them are getting a run home. So it's like, I'm not saying it has to be a home run, but you need to be slugging. You need to have, some extra base hits, something driving in runs. And, in both games they lost in the Padres series, they had 4 hits right. And 0 runs.
Yeah.
That's not, can't do that. It's not okay.
It's not how to play winning baseball. Yeah. You can't really steal base. Stealing bases is great, but it's really hard to steal home. And that's the only one that counts for a run, If
you're going to strand everyone at second, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Especially because they're all fast enough. Like from first, you hit a deep enough single out into the outfield, like they could just get home anyways. You know what I mean? Like I think about like Durbin did that, right? He hit, like, this is all during the Red Series. Admittedly, I had a very busy weekend. I did not get to watch as much Brewers baseball as I would have liked. I caught highlights, so like,
well, you didn't miss much.
I know that, and I do. In terms of offense, I know I did not miss much, but I just mean, like, you know, I do like watching the games. Even the condensed, it's hard to really give an honest take of the game because there's just so much flow and rhythm. You know, it's like, because sometimes, like, what doesn't get accounted for is like if Andrew Monasterio swings at the first 3 pitches, but if the third one is like absolutely nasty, then it's like you tip your hat to your pitcher, and you can't really feel that in like the box score and the highlights, per se. But yeah, I mean, them putting up only for, you know, one game where they only put up any runs, and it was only 4, you know, especially with the way the offense has been clicking. These are the slumps you gotta kind of like ride out. But I think I said last pod, I was like, I think we could win every series up until the Cubs series. And then my buddy Andrew from Cruising for a Bruisin' so kindly pointed out that the Padres are competing just like we are, and on paper they're a better baseball team. So it sucks that we couldn't take advantage of them when it's only 1 run in the 2 games we lost. It really sucks that we couldn't just figure out a way to get at least 1 run across the board, but I guess it is what it is in that respect. So.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, the Braves are bad. They kind of were, it looked like they were surging again. They fell right back off. It's very obvious that I think they might be sellers, or at the very least, just not competitive, especially in the East. So this should be, I'm going to knock on wood. Yeah. Yep. Let me knock on wood. This should be a very winnable series. So hopefully they can get some of that hitting back on track, get some offensive tendencies looking good before we play the Cardinals and the Cubs, because that's going to be these types of series are how we claw our way back and make some hay in the standings. So
that's how we make up ground.
And then the last shitty thing we have to talk about, sorry for cursing, Brandon Woodruff back on an injury assignment. At this point, he's the Chris Middleton of baseball. You know, here's what I mean. If he's back by the trade deadline, then that's a great trade we got. You know what I mean? It's like, that's how you got to look at it. It's like, yeah, we acquired Brandon Woodruff at the deadline.
It just sucks.
It does. Yeah, it does. But like DL Hall came back. I'm loving him and Priester. I mean, think about that game against the Phillies. We already talked about it, but like Hall and Priester went like scoreless. That was awesome. They did that same setup. They ran DL Hall until like they couldn't, and then Priester kind of cleaned up. And he only gave up a couple, like a run or 2. I mean, he's got like a 2.3 ERA. So it's like, even that pickup looks great. So, you know, when we talk about who's going to be around, who they're going to free up, especially if Woodruff does come back. I mean, obviously that's, you know, I was thinking, like, does Priester get called down? They like Priester, but he has options. And then there's conversations about, obviously, like, I mean, Tyler Alexander got DFA'd. And he had to, because of how he pitched in that Phillies game at the end, where he gave up like 4 runs when we were up like 14-1. He opted for free agency. He did clear waivers, so nobody claimed him. But then he signed with the White Sox, which makes sense. I think his time here was done. But yeah, Woodruff, when he comes back, somebody's got to go down, and so it'll be interesting. By the time he comes back, it could be trade deadline. I think we could see a starting pitcher moved in favor of freeing up a space for Woodruff. My guess would be like Aaron Savali. Like, I think you could convince a team that he could be a strong, like, 3 or 4 for you, and maybe you could get some stuff back.
It really worries me, because of I don't trust Woodruff to stay healthy.
Totally. Yeah.
And so I don't want to ship a guy off to have Woodruff be here for 2 weeks and then be back on the DL. And now you got rid of a guy. So,
yeah, I mean, if he comes back before the deadline and his velo looks good, that's the real concern, right? Like, his last couple rehab starts, his velocity was not where you wanted it to be. So it's like, if his velo looks good and he looks good, and
just staying healthy.
Well, I know, but I'm trying to live in a world where that is, he fights the odds.
To that world.
I'm just saying, because you're right. If injuries are his concern, then it's just going to be more of the same. Like, they're absolutely going to they're just going to option Priester probably until Woodruff gets hurt again. I mean, that's just the way it's going to go. But but yeah, I mean, Freddie's still pitching really well. You know, he has his moments. He is going to be an above average, like A- pitcher, like just skirting the line of true ace stuff. And then every 4 start, he's going to just kind of need the offense to bail him out. And luckily that happened against the Reds. I don't remember. Yeah, like I said. I mean, the pitching clearly was fine. Their 2 losses against the Padres. Straczynski got the loss.
Right. And they lost 2-0, 1-0.
Yeah. So,
Put up some damn runs.
Yeah. So it's like in modern baseball, like your starting pitcher, if they don't give up more than 3 runs, that should keep you competitive in most games. Like the games of 2-0, 2-1s, like those are bad offensive games, especially in the modern era. So just not what you want to see. But I feel good about the starting pitching. I feel good about the bullpen. I think like Joel's back in Nashville, which is interesting. You never know. Like if they can sort him out, like I believed in him in past seasons, but it seemed very obvious this year. He just didn't have it. So it's like, that could be interesting. I just like the Brewers love Nick Mears. I think he's great. Like Koenig is still awesome. Like Abner is shoving his slider. The movement looks nasty. Like, so I don't know. I don't know how or where, Ashby's still a long middle reliever, DL Hall, Quentin Priester, like does one of them find their way back to the pen? Mizorowski's going to get called up when his like take 2 ruling is over. There's questions about Yoho. His first stint wasn't great, but I still think there's something there in less high leverage situations. Like, so, on paper, there's still a lot to like. The problem is that they fall short on offense. So basically we've talked about them for 20 minutes and are coming back to the same point that we started with. Their offense they need to figure it out. Jackson needs to stop first strike swinging over and over again. And it's getting better, but I just mean that plate discipline we need to see.
Yeah.
We need to see
and some extra base hits.
Yeah, totally. I mean,
need more than a bloop single. And getting in some runs. All right, I'm going to move us along because I got more to complain about.
Great.
So, let's talk about the NBA finals, which admittedly I have not watched a lot of basketball since the Bucks have been out. It's usually what I do when it comes to the NBA. If I can't watch Giannis, I'm not really watching. That being said, despite my best efforts, I did see how the end of game 1 of the NBA finals went down with Halliburton again hitting a not buzzer beater, but game-winning shot with essentially no time left on the clock. And in OKC, right? It wasn't even in Indiana, and it's just Halliburton making it. And I tweeted the following: the Pacers suck. Halliburton sucks. They're going to win. They still suck. That's 100% how I feel about it. I don't like the team. I don't like Halliburton. I don't like any of them. I don't understand people that are Bucks fans that don't hate them. Like, not people that are like, oh, I'm just, I'm neutral on them. Like, I'm fine with them. I don't understand. They're pieces of shit. And they play like garbage. The whole thing that happened with Halliburton's dad, like, I hate this team. I absolutely hate this team. I don't like Halliburton, and I don't like the way that they're winning. Like, it's irritating. It's annoying. All of that being said, they keep finding stupid ways to win. They're coming back, at the time that we're filming this, the third quarter just came to an end in game 2, and they're down 19. So odds are, they're going to have a huge fourth quarter and find a way to come back and win this game.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the way the Pacers are playing, like specifically Tyrese in the last 5 minutes of games, like I'm just not going to assume they're down or have lost until they're done. I'm not going to lie. 4 seconds left. I turned that game off, and then somebody texted me, "Are you watching this game?" And I turned it right back on, and I was like, "How are the Pacers ahead?" Like, yeah, it's absolutely absurd. Tyrese is on what I hate to say, Chris Middleton levels of clutch of a run going on right now, of shades of the Bucks run, where he's just willing them to victories. Yeah, I don't like rooting for other small markets, and I kind of hate not liking Wisconsin-born athletes. Man, I can't stand Tyrese Halliburton. I think he's corny. I think I think he tries so hard and it's so obvious. It doesn't help that they played the Bucks like 6 times in 3 months last season. They knocked us out. But yeah, I definitely want them to lose. I like the Thunder. I think I don't mind a young team figuring it out, acquiring through talent, like draft, like they got Shea. I think Giannis could have had I don't know. Do I think Giannis could have been in the mix more for MVP? Sure. But I like Shea getting it over Jokic. I mean, Jokic puts up these numbers. Where's the fatigue? It's if Giannis can put up numbers higher than he has in every category of any season he's ever played, and then he places third in the MVP voting, then it's like, let's just admit it. Like, hey, you're going to win a couple, and then we're going to go on to the next flavor. Like, that's fine. Then because honestly, it's like, what? LeBron should have like 8 or 9 MVPs. People just got tired of it, and I get it. But dominance is dominance. But I think, like, I don't know.
It's not dominance. It's not. It's just clutch. It's annoying clutch with like not actual swagger either. It's just the whole thing. It's just annoying, and I hate it. And I agree with you. Like, it's not like it's a lot of time a small market team fans love to crap all over the major markets. When we watch the New Yorks and the LAs and the runs that they go on and these type and the Bostons and that's not even what this is, and it's still annoying. It's just very it's very weird.
I straight up was rooting for the plunky Knicks, that upstart young go get them franchise, the New York Knickerbockers.
Hoping they can really figure something out, maybe hold it together as a franchise.
I think the thing that really pisses me off about the Pacers is that and this is their name, Carlisle has them pushing the pace at an unreal level, right? And just a lot of teams can't hang. And it's like, as teams get tired, they just keep pushing the pace. And they're like, they're the perfect case study for this whole new CBA argument, where it's like, you don't need the top star in a series. You need to have the best worst player. If your 7th and 8th man off the bench is better than the other teams, then you're just going to get ran off the court. And that's very clearly what is happening in these series. I mean, I think, like, if you look at the Thunder specifically, like, defensively, they were the first in the West for a reason. Like, they can score, and they are dogs on defense, and they're absolutely shutting them down. Like, so I don't know. It was one game. I'm trying not to, like, put too much stock into this idea that, like, maybe the Thunder have the yips in terms of the pay. Like, they could reverse sweep these dudes, and then we're not having this conversation. Like, right now they're up 15 or 12 or whatever it is. It's like the fourth quarter is starting right now as we're recording. Like, if they win by 10 plus, I'm still going to be like, well, we'll see what it looks like at, the Bainbridge. But I just, like, it could also just be like, oh yeah, so the Thunder didn't take them seriously to close them out, and now they'll never make that mistake again. You know what I mean? Like, so we don't know.
But I won't believe that until the entire series is over, because Halliburton and the Pacers have done this to more than just this team.
Yeah.
This is their recipe.
One fucking TJ McConnell, like, masterclass in 3-point shooting. Nesmith needs to be, like, unconscious. It was like the 7th guy on their lineup. So, yeah, man, I look at the Pacers the way I wish I could look at the Bucks, man. Like, their role players are born to play in the playoffs. They are playoff risers, and our bench are our 3, 4, and 5 terms of scoring options on our starters are playoff droppers or fallers or whatever the opposite of risers is in this situation. Like, our team does not show up. They need Giannis to put up 50, go 98% from free throws in a game 6. Like, they're like, hey, Giannis, we can't help you, so please drag us across the finish line. So pretty unfortunate. But yeah. And then obviously the last little bit, if we're talking NBA, it's like, I hate we have to keep talking about it, but still no news, right? Apparently that like horse meeting hasn't happened with Giannis. Apparently there's a lot more reports, like, from the Stein line and, like, Jake Fisher and some, like, more reputable inside guys who take pulse of the league at whole. It sounds like it's becoming more and more apparent that, like, I think the headline was like, teams are growing skeptical that Giannis could actually be on the trade market this year, which is just saying teams are thinking maybe Giannis just plays on the contract that he actually is signed to. You know what I mean? Like, and I know there's a conversation about, like, asking out, but I think they really were trying to, like, feed into this idea that maybe the Bucks would look to move Giannis. Like, is this the year they have to get off of him and, like, recoup and just start over? And it's like, no, you idiots. But,
well, and then when that didn't work, that's when they said, well, now for the first time, Giannis is considering going somewhere else. And then nothing came from that either. It was all
who's reporting Giannis is now considering it,
Well,
I mean, Shams. He's also, I know Shams I know he did it, but I meant, like, who leaked it? That's my point. And it's like, you got to always ask, like, when these dudes are like, I always laugh so much in the NFL. It's so obvious when a leak comes from a team versus, like, an agent. Like, it's like former all-star, blah, blah, blah. I don't even remember who it was. There was a player that got signed this year or this past week. It was to the Ravens. Who was it? I think somewhere wide receiver or something. It was like former All-Star, and it was like he finished like almost last in like second all team. Like, give me a break here. It's like so obvious. It's like it was the agent and stuff like that. So we always need to practice that in everything, right? Somebody wants us to know this information for a reason. That's why it leaks. And what if it's in favor of someone or an org? It's like pretty obvious to figure it out one way or the other. So
Sure.
Where are you at with this idea that maybe like Giannis should just come out and just say like I'm staying, or because I'm hearing people, I have people in my life that I'm saying like he should just say something and put it to bed.
I trust me, for my anxiety, for my fan anxiety, I would love for that to be the case.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting it to ever be the case. Not only does he not do that, no all-star athlete does that, especially when it's not 100% up to him, right? There's a team involved too. So he doesn't want the egg in his face of saying like, no, hey, remember when oh my gosh. Former Buck went to Celtics.
Ray Allen.
No.
Sam Cassell.
No. 21 championship team. Drew Holiday.
Drew Holiday? I think in my head, I was like, there's no way he means Drew Holiday.
Yeah. Look, it's not even 95 degrees here. Okay. I don't even have an excuse. I'm just parent exhausted. When Drew Holiday said, I'm going to be a Buck for life. Psych.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's just not what athletes do. You don't say things like that because you never know. You just never know.
You don't.
And that was, what ended up being the case here.
Yeah. Answering my own question, he can't come out and say that because then the Bucks will just do a full punt year. Oh, you're sticking around for sure? Great. We'll sell off everything. We will make sure that we can actually reflip. And it's like, it would be, I hope they do that, but I hope they do it with Giannis's blessing. But if he comes out and says he's coming back, they're just going to do it. You know what I mean? So it's like, if Giannis wants to be competing for championships every single season until he retires, he cannot give ground to any organization by saying like, no matter what, I'm good with it. Like they need Horst to do some blood ritual, do some spells, charge some crystals. It's whatever black magic. He's got to do something to get a winner around him. And so we'll see what that looks like. It's going to obviously require the most amount of creativity, given the fact that so much money is tied up to a player that just can't play next year. I'm just not going to hold my breath, I guess. There's a lot of people saying like he might be back before a playoff. And I'm like, that would be great, but
or it could be a Brandon Woodruff situation. Who knows?
Yeah.
All right. Before we get out of here, we got to talk about some WWE, some wrestling news, because since the last time we talked, Money in the Bank happened 24 hours ago. And I have some thoughts. So I would like to start by running down quickly the card, starting with the women's Money in the Bank match, which was the match I was looking forward to the most. I was disappointed, like really disappointed, pretty much across the board. There were things that like it was clear they were trying to do moves that were just a little sloppy, or things that didn't work. I remember there was one time specifically where I think Julia and Roxanne Perez were trying to slam the ladder sandwich Rhea Ripley in it, and they couldn't figure out to close the middle parts before you, like the ladder's not going to close if the middle beams are up. Like you got to close them. You guys haven't practiced that at all. Like there was just there was a lot of this is my first time in a ladder match feel to it. And that was really disappointing. Obviously loved who was in it. Also didn't love that Naomi won. I understand she had been in, this was her fifth Money in the Bank match. So like, I don't know if that was kind of the whole thing around that, but I really thought that this was an opportunity to either one, kind of skyrocket Alexa Bliss back, coming back after she's been gone for as long as she has, back into some type of storyline, right? Because she is just back. Like that's the only storyline she's been in. Or to give one of these, new young talent, their chance to latch onto something to go. Naomi just had a whole identity change. She just got out of this great feud that is kind of still even happening or could happen forever. Kind of with her and Jade, it's kind of giving me like a Sammy and KO feel. Like those two could just go at it any night and it would work. And the Money in the Bank thing is just her having the briefcase felt like, oh, okay. Like there was no excitement in my mind of, ooh, I wonder what happens next. And so that was really disappointing. And I was disappointed in the match. I felt like I had high expectations for it, and it was definitely not met or exceeded.
Yeah. I think so. Fun fact: I talked myself into thinking Naomi was going to win that match before it started. We were on the couch watching it with some friends, and we all made our picks. And at the end, last second, I was like, "Ooh, I think Naomi's going to win." And here's why. I don't disagree with you. The women's ladder matches are always going to be tough because it's just so obvious how most of them are too small to wield ladders that size. Like 10-foot ladders
Sure.
for people that are barely 5'5" is tough. Yes, they are strong, but there is like a physics thing. So it's like it's always going to look clunkier because you're asking them to move something that's twice the size of them.
Sure.
So it's like unless two people are doing it, which at some points can't happen, there is a mechanics issue that I will always like give some grace to, just given the way the match is inherently set up, right? I looked at it this way. Triple H came out and said he doesn't really even like the Money in the Bank gimmick. He thinks it sucks, and I don't disagree. I think like unless you're gonna like do what you did with Tiffany Stratton, where you're gonna like strap it to someone's back as like a rocket ship as a way to just like automatically get somebody a contender, get them a belt, and then you let them figure it out. Like I think like Tiffany Stratus.
I love that. That's a great.
Yeah. My bad. Tiffany Stratton, Trish Stratus. Anyways, Tiffany Stratton, Tiffy time. She's a perfect case study of that, right? Like they believed in her. They debuted her at Rumble, had a huge, like arguably the star of Elim Chamber, and so they gave her the belt. They won a feud and went on her way. That went great. I just like looking at like the 30,000 foot view. It's like sometimes you have to watch wrestling from like the not just watching, and that's how we discuss it, right? So I'm not saying anything too groundbreaking here. It's just very obvious to me that they just weren't going to do it again. I think you call up Julia, you call up Stephanie Vaquer, you call up Roxanne Perez, and I think the reason you call these people up is so that way they can really bolster the mid card titles. I think I'm going to say within the next 3 months. If you want to be generous to me, let's say 4 months. I think Vaquer is the women's IC holder, and I think Julia becomes the U.S. champion. I don't think they are trying to muddy up the top end of the women's belts right now because it's very clearly like Io, Rhea, Bianca, and everybody else. And I think what they're really trying to do is make it so there's a middle class of female wrestlers are fighting for a belt that is earnest and earns it. So much so that I was like, I called the women's IC match for Becky for that same reason.
Sure.
And I don't want to jump the shark, but I want to go back to my point. The reason why I came back to thinking it would be a Naomi is like, do you see how over Rhea Ripley is? I was like, maybe you give her the briefcase because she just never had it because she's been the women's champion every Money in the Bank since she's been champion. But she just doesn't need it. Like she can walk in, she could literally challenge anyone at any time. And if they want to put the belt back on her, no one's going to bat an eye. She is like China level over. You know what I mean? In terms of like female wrestlers, like the way that the three women had to pile on her and literally bury her in ladders. I think long-term storytelling, I think that match paid that off. Like it made it very clear everybody in the world is terrified of Rhea Ripley, except for maybe a select few, right? And that's kind of like where she needs to be in rarefied air, right? And so like I thought it worked for me on that match. And like I said, I just don't think they want to push Julia, Stephanie, or Roxanne that fast. And I think like, dude, I know you like Alexa Bliss, and I'll be the first one to admit that I stopped watching wrestling in like 2017 and picked it up 2 years ago again. So she fits perfectly in my wrestling blind spot. I really don't have much in terms of like a frame of reference for her. And I know
incredible.
I know that. But I just like, it didn't, I think it feels forced to just put her in that. So it's like, this is the way I think about it. It's cool if you disagree with me, but this is why I came up to Naomi.
Okay.
Because the Jade thing, it's kind of getting stale because she's just a significantly better wrestler than Jade is. And I think like the missing piece of this feud is Naomi needs to turn her back on Bianca fully too, to fully go heel, right? Right now she's living in this middle world where it's like, Bianca, you know, like, yes, I did this for us and maybe it's souring, but Money in the Bank briefcase, I think Bianca by SummerSlam is maybe the women's champion. And I think Naomi cashes in to like screw that up for her. You know what I mean? And it's like the final nail in the coffin. And maybe it happens before SummerSlam, but I just mean like at some point, I think Naomi is going to betray Bianca to like fully go heel. Not to mention just like the last like 7 years, Naomi did a ton, got released kind of, you know what I mean? Like I said, in my blind spot, but I've done some research. Like she got let go at a time that they were letting go a lot of wrestlers who put in a lot of work. So
here's the one thing I'm going to say about in regards to, you know, the whole, you got to make a rocket, strap a rocket to him. I disagree with that. It's a gimmick, right? It doesn't need to be something to where it's an immediate cash in. It doesn't even need to be something to where like no woman has ever cashed in and lost. Like I would love to have that be, you know, something to where it keeps the fans guessing a little bit. Still gives you that, oh my God, you know, are they actually going to do it? You know, feel not like a guaranteed this is your next champion, but it's kind of like the King of the Ring thing, right? Like it's an opportunity to take a superstar and give them a gimmick, give them a little bit more, right? You can make the person a Miss Money in the Bank. Then that becomes like part of their character for X amount of time. And then like every time they're on screen, it's like, well, they could cash in now. No, I'm not gonna do it. It's just, there's so many ways that you can play it with the briefcase. And Naomi literally just made the change. She just made the change and it's working, right? People are seeing her as a heel for the first time, that she completely changed everything. She has the new caution thing, like all of it works. You don't need to give her an additional gimmick. You had 5 other wrestlers, and I guess besides Rhea, who is just being Rhea, so it's fine. But you have 4 other wrestlers who are either brand new and could absolutely use that, or someone who's been gone for 2 years, who's in people's blind spot because they weren't watching for all that time, that could definitely use that and have that be something to get them back out there and in the minds and in front of the faces of the WWE universe. And putting it on Naomi just didn't make sense. That being said, I want to talk about the men's Money in the Bank match, because to me, I went into this knowing that Seth Rollins was going to win. The second I knew everyone that was in the match, I knew Seth Rollins was going to win. I was like, there's no way that any of these other people have a storyline that comes from winning Money in the Bank more important than Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins just talked this whole time. Like they've been setting up this whole thing with his faction. His faction and his identity means nothing if he just loses this match. Like it doesn't make any sense.
Well, we were talking about it last week too, where we're like, they keep saying how dangerous Seth is and why he can't get a championship. And that's why the problem. And it's like, so how is this any different than it was 3 months ago? He still doesn't have a belt. He still hasn't wrestled for a belt. Like, why does this feel different? And so you're right. I think like specifically this Money in the Bank briefcase for him. Okay, this is a tangible problem for the rest of the locker room to rally around. Where before it was all theoretical. It was like, you don't want, and it's just kind of like, okay, so like, why are we?
It was all talk.
Yeah.
It was all talk. And now
I will say, and this is spoiler territory, obviously, because we're already talking about who won. I did think there was a very compelling story to have Solo Sikoa get it. And before we explain why it didn't happen, I went into the match thinking, if Solo Sikoa wins this, sure, it's very obvious, like SmackDown, that he said all gas, no brains. JC Mateo is like not vibing with Jacob Fatu. Like it's very clear, and I Hate You Solo was coming, right? They've been setting this up for a long time. I didn't think it was going to happen at Money in the Bank. So the spoiling is clearly it did. I was thinking you give Solo Money in the Bank. He got cooled off super hard once the Bloodline story ended. And I think he's too talented to be playing like, and I get like Fatu is too over to be trying to run them both parallel. But I was thinking you give Solo Sikoa the briefcase and you go, you're the US champion. I have my ticket to become world champion. I have my ticket to become the WWE undisputed champion. You know what I mean? And that allows for that power dynamic and that struggle to really take off. And then I thought that's where they would butt heads over like, you're just the US champion. This is what I'm going to be. And that like really like blows his ego. But that was the only other one. That was the only other person. I was like, it's probably Seth. It should be Seth. Seth needs to win this. But I thought Solo winning would just kind of bubble the cauldron of like this clearly infighting. But obviously in that match, Braun and Bronson Reed come out, they wreck shop. Solo's guys come to the rescue, and then obviously Jacob Fatu. I mean,
The whole thing happens. Yeah,
the dude is generational. Just like
Jacob Fatu is gonna blow up. He's gonna be.
He's literally a shot of adrenaline to any match, any promo, any facial expression. Like he is found money, and he's free money. So yeah, we finally got the "I hate you" solo right when he was on his way. But I gotta say, I was very impressed with Solo that entire match. So funny, so talented. Like I'm very happy with the men's Money in the Bank. I think in terms of like big spots, huge moments, it was exactly what I wanted. And then the IC matches real quick. I just want to touch on them because there isn't really much to say. Obviously, Seth should have won. I'm glad he did. Now we can get to some real storytelling with Seth. That's what I'm excited about to see until SummerSlam. Blah blah blah. Dude, Dom versus Octagon Jr. I did watch Worlds Collide.
I did not.
It was the AAA Mexican Lucha Libre League promo. They did it. I said that weird in 1994, and that was their first time coming back. But it was pretty fun. There was like a super hilarious 6-man tag with a guy named Mr. Iguana who like paints his face green, and
he was in the crowd. Iguanas. I saw.
He is hilariously over. But yeah, Octagon Jr. Dom couldn't. Octagon Jr. presented a luchador mask to Rey Mysterio to start. So there was some storytelling there. So Dom got in there and talked a bunch of shit. They kind of got into it. And he hastily said, like, I'll see you at SummerSlam. Or at Money in the Bank, and the IC title will be on. Obviously, Dom was going to win this. They're not going to give it up for Octagon Jr. But I just think it's another great cross promotion. Like, I will say between AAA and then obviously watching that match, that IC match, I am interested in catching more matches. I think some of these guys have played. I don't think I'm going to be an avid AAA watcher, but there are times in my life where I'm like, I should check in on this because I think and this is kind of a side point, and I'd be curious about your take, but I think Lucha Libre Wrestling has a hard time fitting into global promotions. Like, I just think WWE has too many different fight styles. And so you can't just have little guys running around the whole time. But when it's a literal league of people who all wrestle like that, it looks so much more impressive than just a style in a bunch of different styles, And so it's like, it is exciting. There's part of me that's like, I would love to watch more of this because it is like, I look at it like Legado del Phasma. Did I say that right? Yeah. Anyways, they wrestled and they looked great, in a way that they just have not been able to shine in the WWE period. So it was a cool event. And then, like I said, I predicted Becky was going to win that match against Lyra. They were trying to claim like tights grabbing, and maybe that's true, and they're just trying to push the heel stuff more. But like, it was time for Lyra to drop it. I think we talked about this last week. Yeah, where I was just like, Lyra got everything she needed out of this feud, and it wasn't the belt. It was like learning how to really cut a promo and not just be like that. I'm here to do my best. It was like there's like some actual real emotional stakes to it. Which I think the WWE right now is lacking. I think there's a lot of people saying the right things, and besides like the CM Punks of the world, not a lot of it is like believable to me. I don't really feel emotion in a lot of these promos, and like I'm hoping that maybe some of these storylines will get some more out of it. But man, nobody is cutting like promos that give me goosebumps besides like CM Punk.
I agree. That whole match for me was a pretty big snooze. I kind of knew it was coming. I thought it went on too long. It is what it is. All right, really quick. Let's talk about how the thing ended. First of all, that last match with Jay and CM Punk versus CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, and John Cena and Logan Paul. Logan Paul is a great heel. Yeah. He's an absolute amazing heel with some really athletic ability. And people need to realize he's going to have a belt, like a legitimate belt someday, and someday soon. That backflip that he did off of the ring onto the announce table was executed perfectly. Like, perfectly. It wasn't just an athletic ability. It's an athletic wrestling ability. Like, so many of these guys that you see that like are not YouTubers that you see in these matches you still like wonder, okay, because if you watch wrestling, a lot of times it's the person that's actually getting attacked in the move is doing a lot of the work to keep them make the move work and keep everyone safe doing it. And he can do that so well. And then to also do moves like this, like that's a high risk move, not only for him, but for Jay. And he nailed it. He absolutely crushed it. It was the best part of the match.
It's the best
was that move.
It was maybe the best part of the entire card, if we're honest. Like that spot. I mean, short of like the the devil's kiss on the ladders.
Yeah.
I
mean, the devil's kiss ever
for meme. Yeah. There was an AAA at the Worlds Collide. Lola Vice I mean, how could you not? Yeah, it was pretty good.
It's pretty all over everything. Yeah.
I try not to be too much of a pig, but
I can't.
Sometimes they know they're doing it. They know what they're doing.
They 1,000% do.
Yeah. That was the spot of the night. Really impressive. And I'll say this too about Logan Paul. Can you think of a wrestler who just casually introduced maybe the most innovative like finisher in some time? Like I'm trying to think of another wrestler who was just like, hey, here's a new finisher you've never seen before. And it's sick. Like the pulverizer, that move where he flips them and then he flips himself so that it turns into like a DDT. It's so cool. Like to the point where I like, if I see it like on Twitter, I'll like slow it down to be like, how are they all doing this so impressively? It looks so impressive. And it's truly off like the back of his athleticism. So it's like, I understand when you say like, he didn't come up in wrestling, blah, 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 blah. But at some point he's going to earn his keep. And I think he's like, you're right. I think in 6 months, he's going to have a belt, like one of the big belts. People are going to hate it. Yeah.
And that's they should.
Great. And they should,
That's part of it.
Yeah.
Right. Sure. Obviously the moment of the night is a mysterious person comes into the ring, and stops John Cena. Yeah. And ends up hitting him in the face with the championship belt to remove his mask and show it's Ron Killings.
Yeah.
Not R-Truth.
Not R-Truth.
Ron Killings is there.
Yeah.
Everyone loses their mind because R-Truth is back. You have Michael Cole saying like, making all these cliche lines about the truth, handling the truth and nothing but the truth, blah, blah, blah. I was very excited to see him come back.
Yeah.
I then went to social media and the amount of people that were like, man, we just got played. I can't believe what a work by the WWE. This was not a work. This was not a work at all. I knew it wasn't a work the second that Triple H was asked about it in his post PLE presser. When he said, just watch the show. You enjoying the show? Enjoy the show. I literally put out a tweet and people started commenting on it going, are you talking about Zabe? This is Zabe? It's not Zabe. I'm not talking about Zabe. But I put out a tweet that said, I used to interact with someone who would do the same thing. When they had egg on their face from a decision they made, they would act like this is what the plan was all along. This is exactly what we were thinking would happen, and everything went according to plan. And just the second he said that, I was like, you're totally just taking credit because in the position you are, you can't admit to the WWE universe we're giving them their way. Because then the WWE universe would push that. They would keep doing that for everything they want. Right? They would say, hey, it worked for R-Truth. Let's keep doing it for everything. And they can't do that, right? The WWE still needs to be in control of the product. This 1,000% it's not breaking the bank to have R-Truth under contract. And the amount of outrage from the fans, the current WWE superstars, everyone, it was enough to where they were like, all right, we can get him back. We'll do something.
Yeah. I mean, they can't have "We Want Truth" chants echoing throughout every promo for the next 2 months. You know what I mean? It's like literally killing sound bites. Like you think about like Raw a ton. And obviously they were told they couldn't mention it. And I guess it makes sense. Yeah, I'm with you. I obviously think like it was shoot, turn to work. They shoot, you know what I mean? Like shoot the, there was some quote like, don't shoot yourself into a work, brother. And it's like, that is exactly what happened. They made a decision. Yeah. The beautiful thing about the WWE is you could just change, you know what I mean? It's like, at the end of the day, it truly doesn't matter. Like they did the right thing by just bringing him back. You know what I mean? And that's like, it's frustrating when in other situations, but that's the beautiful thing about a scripted sports entertainment performance, right? Like you can make things right. I'll be curious about what kind of there were reports saying that like R-Truth was like straight up just like, no, I'm not coming back, like denied multiple attempts when they realized maybe they made a mistake. But I will say that, like, there's been times where wrestlers have been released and they signed like weird legacy contracts. You know what I mean? It could become, legacy being like, oh yeah, they're only going to like show up like once every couple of years or like once a few times a year. I mean, like there is this idea that like, if I'm the WWE, I'm going, R-Truth has had a hell of a career. He's 53 years old. Maybe it is time to move on from him, and maybe not doing it in any sort of like ceremony is the wrong move, right? So not to say that, there's a good chance that R-Truth wrestles 4 more times, has like 5 more appearances. Like who knows what this contract actually looks like. But I will say it's stolen valor. They did not plan this. They were being forced back into it. And another way you can look at it to know that is like, why would you release Carlito and Valhalla for real on the same day you're doing like a work for R-Truth? Like it's just like really insensitive. That almost would become worse. Like that seems worse to me to be like, oh, so he was just doing a bit, but the whole thing, I think they wanted to move on. I think maybe they were hopeful that they could do some PRs to mitigate. And ultimately it's like, no, he needs to be back. Like, especially until his John Cena stuff gets sorted, he needs to be a part of it. Like, it's his childhood hero. Like you can't just release the guy the day after he wrestled him at Saturday Night Main Event without any sort of fanfare. Like the dude is too special and he's too unique. So, shame on the WWE for trying to like just skirt him out the back door. Like fans wouldn't know, but like, I guess props to the WWE universe for not making that acceptable. Like, did you watch SmackDown before?
I did not. Yeah, but I did see the R-Truth stuff. Yeah.
I'll say that was the only creative way I saw anybody. You want to talk about like why John Cena is great at promotions. They said, we want truth, not we want R-Truth. And he said, you want the truth. You can't handle the truth. The truth is that I'm going to ruin wrestling. And it's like, that's the only smart way I've seen somebody take instead of just ignoring it. Right. Like make it work for you. And like, that's the kind of stuff that like, that's the invaluable lessons. Like, and there are obviously some like was hilarious infighting between Logan Paul and like John Cena. He's like, I'm trying to teach you. It's like, that's the stuff you need to be paying attention to. Like, and I think even Logan Paul's good at like reading the crowd, reacting to the crowd, not getting shaken, But yeah, it was a hell of a match. I'm super interested.
I got one more thing to add on this Ron Killings thing. Because it's Ron Killings. It's not R-Truth. Yeah. There are different reports going around of why it's not R-Truth and it's Ron Killings this time. A few people are saying because they think that then, when it's just his name, if he can do it that way, then when he's done in WWE, his name will be out there enough to where he can go and do, indie shows and stuff as Ron Killings and people know who he is. I don't know how much I buy into that. I feel like people already know who he is.
Yeah.
But your thoughts on it not being truth? Like, what if it's R-Truth is here? The person, Ron Killings is here, but it's not the same person that we've known. What about if he's not the funny, witty guy that we've been used to for the last 20 years? Does that change things? Because for me, it does. I need truth. I need that person still. Yeah. I don't need the guy to then be a new character. I need that character.
Yeah. I mean, I think R-Truth was Ron Killings, right? Like, so there is like this like reverse lore. So if it's like a trademarking issue, that's really corny and it feels lame to me. But I will say this, I'm still on team. John Cena should lose the belt to Ron Killings or R-Truth or whoever. And if Ron Killings comes back and is like markedly different and more serious of a wrestler to the point where you could get him to take the belt off John Cena, then that's interesting and I'm in. So it's just, sure. It's one of these conversations where
that push. Sure.
Yeah. It's one of these conversations where it's like, if they could figure out a way to make this work with the story. And I use this as an example all the time. Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest were running parallel all the time. Their decisions barely affected each other in the moment. until Drew McIntyre cut one promo on a SmackDown that was 2 minutes long, and it was like, holy shit, this is a feud I have to see, right? Like that's the beautiful thing about wrestling. It's like you can rewrite a ton of wrongs with very little effort, and so if they can do something like that with Ron Killings, if that's who it is, then I'm super excited. So we'll see.
I agree.
But if it's really just like a matter of like marketability, it's like everyone knows Ron Truth, or like R-Truth is Ron Killings. Like the indie wrestling fans are smarter than your average like online WWE fan. So like it's not like they don't know who that is. So it's like if they think it's like some courtesy, it's like that's not the truth. I think really what it probably is. Thank you. Pun intended. I think what's really happening is they're just trying to get away from the R-Truth chance. So it's like, here's the guy. Yes, he's R-Truth. He's been Ron Killings also separately the whole time too. Sure. You know, it's like, so it's just, I think they're just like, I think they just don't want to just like fully wash their hands of this mistake. I think they're trying to do, this is all PR bullshit in my opinion, but
which is probably also the case because, you know, egos will always try to save ego. Yeah. And so, and
all wrestling is ego and errors, right? It's illusions and egos. So it's,
but either way, I'm glad he's back. I thought it was an awesome end of the pay-per-view that we knew John Cena was going to lose that match because it wasn't for the championship. So there was no way he was winning that match. It wouldn't have made sense for him to. But
I disagree, overall, but that's okay.
Okay.
But we don't have to litigate that. It didn't happen. And I think like ultimately them winning or them losing doesn't fundamentally change the course that he's on either way. I think if they win, I just think if they win, it just kind of fuels John Cena's like be a heel in the ring, right? Which I think he's been like avoiding. So it's like he brought the belt out. He was fully prepared to like, you know, so whatever. It doesn't matter. I think this is just as compelling. Getting R-Truth back also makes John Cena very desperate, right? Because there's going to be a crisis of conscience. And so either he needs to sell himself out completely and really tap into a heel part that he has not been tapping into, or this is where they start maybe walking it back a little bit, right?
Who would have thought that this whole story arc with John Cena was going to rely so heavily on R-Truth? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the beginning of this, you thought
probably no one
be involved. Right? All
of
these pieces.
Yeah. I would say nobody
pieces R-Truth.
Yeah.
Love it.
But yeah, I hope they put back the Ron Killings like last time is now.
Oh, that Ron Cena shirt was
Ron
amazing.
Cena. Yeah, they pulled it, so I hope they put it back up too because it's a pretty funny shirt.
Yeah, I need to get one if they do because I love that.
Well, we've recorded long enough, Josh, that the Thunder have officially beat the Pacers.
Woo! Yeah, one down.
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander put up his 9th straight 30-plus point game at home. Some of these start to feel a little wordy when we're trying to give accolades, but the only other person to do it is Will Chamberlain. 9 straight of 30-plus points.
That's not
impressive.
Bad.
Yep.
Good company.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a great way to end things on a positive note. I love that. Screw you, Halburn. All right. Well, thank you, John, for another fun episode. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We will have more fun and more updates on everything. Hopefully, a lot of Brewers wins that lead them to getting closer to catching the Cubs in the division. And we will also hopefully be talking about the lead that OKC has in the NBA Finals when we talk to you next time, because we are not done yet.